Hi there. Is the microphone working? It's working. I haven't streamed in a minute. I feel like I forgot everything. That happens. Hi, it's me, Scott. Happy post Thanksgiving. Happy. So, wait, is it Hanukkah yet? Does Hanukkah start? No. Monday. So no happy Hanukkah. Hi. I'm only doing this to make myself stop playing Factorio. Really, it's the real thing that's happening here. But I got this thing, and I got this thing because it's a Black Friday deal and it came already. And the reason I got it, I kind of want to talk about this. I gotta shoot. I forgot. I gotta push this button over here. Wait a minute. I forgot to change the video description. I knew I forgot something. Kyle, how's it going? How was your Thanksgiving? Are you thankful? Is that true? No, I have an iPad. There's an iPad here. It's an iPad Pro. It's a few years ago. It's good. The reason I got this is it was $75, which is crazy. Because I was thinking, I just bought this. We haven't even done a stream with it yet. But I got like all these Raspberry Pis on my desk. I got this Raspberry Pi display that is terrible, but was like $60 for. We'll do a stream with this at some point. It's 1024 by 600, terrible display. It's just bad. Smaller, it's bad. It was $60 just for this, plus the price of the Pi, all the adapters, whatever. Just to be able to use a Pi and touch it is like over $100. If you just buy this thing, it's $75. It has a dramatically better screen, certainly better GPU, probably better CPU. Has a battery built in. It just has all of the stuff. So I was thinking so there's been kind of some installation-y things, and I've always shied away from using a thing like this for an installation-y kind of thing, but I want to try it. I want to just try it. Scott compares this. Yeah. The basic idea is that this thing is a ridiculous value, I think, because Amazon, I'm opening it. This is the unboxing. Wait, should we set up the cam for the unboxing? My desk is really uncharacteristically messy from all these projects, so I'm a little embarrassed, but let's do it. I don't know if it's going to be even that exciting, but we'll just for completeness sake, we'll turn on the hand cam just to show me open this box. It'll be great. I don't remember how. This button? Nope. This button? Yeah. Okay. And I push this. We're doing great over here. Yeah, okay, we got this dumb thing. We got this dumb tablet. Here's what I want to do. Is I want to... first, I want to just do something kind of simple, like kind of a smart frame. So I have a friend who I made something in Unity, and they were really into it, and they were like, oh, I want that. And I was like, well, there's no way, because, we would have to pay hundreds of dollars to set up a computer to hang this on your wall. I don't think you really want to do that. But if we can pay $75 and have an okay CPU, okay GPU, and all that business, build a little frame for it, and it just hangs on the wall, and it could play the Unity app, probably. That's the real thing to test, is the GPU capabilities here. So what do we got here? We got a nice little hello card. We have a power supply that is... That's pretty weird. It's 5.2 volts instead of 5 volts, which that would make some devices mad. And it's only 1.8 amps. Weird. And we got a USB-C, an A to C cable. This must be an A to C adapter. Yeah, yeah, so we're gonna try, we're gonna try to not activate anything Amazon related. We're gonna make that a goal. Now I have too many things plugged in over here. What are we gonna do? Oh no. Let's unplug this one. So yeah, basically we want to try to set it up without activating any Amazon services, because who wants that? Not me. And we want to, what? I don't know what just happened. And then once we do that, we want to figure out how to build to it, and ideally how to put it in some kind of kiosk mode where we can just have it boot to a single application. And I don't know, I'm definitely not an Android expert, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing people do, right? I don't think these things shouldn't be that hard. So I have this plugged into my computer. Yeah, I don't know if I expressed any of that well. Still a little scatterbrained, honestly. So it's making noises. It did the doo-doo-doo. I don't really understand the buttons or the positioning of the buttons. It seems unhappy. It seems very unhappy, actually. But it's only a 1.5 amp charger, so it can't be that intense. Okay. The power input is on the top, which is weird. The camera's on the side, which is weird. What a weird device. Power on the top, huh? Has a plastic back. Feels not very high quality, but it's okay. Okay, so I believe the trick... Whoa. It's playing fun jams. The trick, the thing we want to accomplish is to not activate it with Amazon, but it may already know who I am. So we don't want to set up the Fire. Making really not great noises. So I'm gonna just pick one of my neighbors. Well, so it's normally $150, and it was half price for Black Friday. I feel like it's still a pretty good value at $150, because I like my understanding, I don't know this, but I think it's a reasonable assumption and maybe known, is that it's kind of a loss leader for them, right? Because they just want you to buy these devices so that you will get into their ecosystem and give them money. And so I would kind of assume, and this information would be out there, that they don't actually make a lot of money on these. The chip that is in it is a reasonable chip, SoC, whatever it is, whatever the Mali 72 is the GPU. I don't remember. I'm not very good with, I think, is it Qualcomm? I'm not very good with Qualcomm chips. Anyway, seems decent. So I think the trick is we're going to try to just connect to one of my neighbors, and then we're going to say cancel. And now we get a skip setup button. And we skip it. Okay, we're here, but it doesn't know who we are, that's the important goal, is we don't want it to know, I don't want it to know me. And in fact, it may already know me. Okay, it's not registered, that's great. So now I think we want to connect to Wi-Fi. You can't really see any of this, can you? Well, it's good because I'm about to put in a password, so probably shouldn't be able to see it. Yeah, this is really incredible content. I'm doing very well. How's this? Is this better? I think it's getting better. I'm just gonna get more cables in the way. Yep, now I've somehow entangled these two devices. We're doing great over here. Okay, now you can see it very nicely reflected. I mean, it's kind of like an eyeball. It's sort of like an angelic halo up here. Okay, I think we need to do two things, but I don't really know the order in which I want to do them. The positioning of that lamp is just really unfortunate. I mean, it doesn't matter that much. It's not that important that we go through this setup, but what else are we going to look at otherwise? We got to look at something. That's what Twitch is all about, probably. Okay, I'm going to ignore that for a minute. When there's actually something on the screen worth looking at, maybe we'll try to focus. Speaking of focus, one thing at a time. Thing number one, try to focus. Okay, that's reasonable focus. So here's the thing that wants my password. It's one of the studies I did last year. It was just a implementation of the super formula. We'll look at it today if I can dig it up. If not, we'll just do a quick example and then I'll dig it up at a later date. But it's just a pretty squirmy thing. Let's look at it over here. If I can find it. It was, I can't remember if you like the super formula one or the spherical harmonics one. I think it was the spherical harmonics one. Can I really not play this without logging in Instagram? Hello? You're killing me. Killing me. We didn't change the desktop wallpaper. I don't know if I can live with myself. We have to. I can't not do that. Okay. Kyle, I think I started the stream just, you know, I was very cavalier. I just started it. I was like, yeah, we'll figure it out. I know how to do this. I've done it a million times. I was wrong. I was just dead wrong. And here we are and everything's going wrong. And I can't seem to type. It's almost like I'm in one of those dreams where nothing works. Or I'm trying to use a computer. I have those dreams frequently, actually. Where none of the technology works quite correctly. Okay. Good grief. All that for this? All that for this wallpaper? All that to get an email I don't want? It knew. Amazon knows. How did it know? They sent me an email about my tablet. They're not supposed to know about that. Okay, let's go with these nice clouds. Yeah, I know. Gosh, I guess that's what happens when you stream. There's probably some algorithm on Twitch that detected. Okay, now we have wallpaper. Great. What else was I doing? We were trying to look at this thing. That was the other thing. It was this. It's not even the most exciting thing, but I think it's pretty. There's a VFX graph. This one is like some spherical harmonics formulas, but the idea is that you just have this, you know, it's just framed on the wall. That's all. But we're not to that point yet. So we got to actually, speaking of that point, we needed to get on Wi-Fi. I don't know how to use Android. I don't even know how to wake this device up. Low power charger connected. I knocked over this is going very well. Charging slowly. Swipe up. Okay. We need to get on to Wi-Fi, apparently. And let's know how to do that. Let's know how to do that? That was a very strange statement. I was going to say let's figure out how to do that, but then that didn't seem correct because it's like, well, I should know that. Okay, the guest network. Great. Let's do it. Can I not select a network? It'd be nice to just, there we go. Don't look at my Wi-Fi password. Okay, actually, it's fine. It's the guest network. Everybody's welcome. Okay, hopefully that worked. Wi-Fi has no internet access, so that's good. This, I really don't like the sound this makes. It's not a very good sound. So, is that the home button? So, yes, it's showing this giant awesome thing that says register device. Very good. Turn this on. If we tilt this up more, I was going to say if we tilt this up more, we'll see less of the light, but actually we see more of the light. So if we tilted it at this angle, POV, you're me. Time zone changed. Great. Now you can see up my nose in the reflection. Oh, Kyle, I don't know what to do about anything. Okay, yes, change the time zone. This display is very dim. That's better. It's very lightweight. It's very thin. Brightness is okay on this screen. I don't know. I really don't like this thing, this giant register your device thing. But there's lots of little alerts up here about something. What do you think the alerts are about? The keyboard wants to know. Great. Okay. Android. This is Android. We know this, right? We go to this is the way you do this is so dumb. Every time I do it, it feels like it must be a joke. The way you turn on developer mode on an Android device seems like they asked a child. I'm just trying to focus, but it's not working. They just asked, I don't know. It's like something from a bad computer movie or something. So we need to go to wherever it tells us about. We need like the About Android page. Actually, and I should, now that I say this, it might be, this is Fire OS, not just stock Android. So it could very well be different. About this. Okay, so normally you find the About page and you just tap the build number 7 times. Uh-oh. It's not working. The thing where you... Oh, wait. I'm sorry, you tapped the serial number. Okay, did you see that? I don't know if you saw the thing. I just tapped this serial number a bunch of times and it put me in developer mode. That's like their cool backdoor to become a developer. Now I'm a developer. Great. Developer on. Allow development. Cool. We're in. It just lowered the brightness, even though I manually turned it on myself. That was great. So we need USB debugging of some kind. This USB debugging. So now I should be able to talk to this machine with my computer, and I should be able to put whatever I want on it. And it's not, I mean, maybe I'm making that sound like it's a big deal. It's not a very big deal. It's just a step in the process, Does this work? No. Okay, so now let's just see what? Let's just build a Unity app to it and maybe it will work. The thing I don't know, so I believe that we can just make a regular old Android build and it'll work. I don't think it has to be some special Fire test is what I'm calling this. I don't think it has to be a special Fire OS build. The microphone is basically inside my mouth, so it might be a little loud. The layout of this device is really strange. The camera's over here, under where my thumb is, on the side, and the USB plug is on the top. Maybe that's just a thing from other Kindles. So to use it as a camera, they definitely want you to hold it sideways, which I guess makes sense. Android is Amazon seems to be anti horizontal camera holding, I guess. Do you like the future art, Kyle? You're gonna buy? Also, so I bought this device for $75. I want to build a nice walnut frame for it, and then I will sell it to you for only $75,000. Limited edition. Limited to however many Kindles I buy. There used to be a thing, actually, I would like to know this. There used to be a thing, I think, where these machines did not let you do HDMI out. Okay, so we've got the Unity editor. Is that a Perforce button? I mean, it's plastic button. I forgot they did that. Okay, so let's make an Android build. And just see what's up. Thing is, I don't have a great way of testing performance. I guess we'll just continually add more particles until it breaks. That will be my strategy. I think I want to get some of these. Maybe I'll get some 8-inch ones or 7-inch ones. They're not very expensive. I'd have to compare to see what the GPU or the processor situation is on all of them. I was able to, oh gosh, I don't remember if it was 10,000 particles or 100,000 particles, but that thing we just watched, the ghostly jellyfish, is a particle simulation, which was ridiculous. It was way too many particles. It was cool. There was a lot of particles. And I ran a version of it on my iPad, which is an older iPad. It is a 2017 iPad Pro, and it ran well. So as long as this device, which is brand new, is on par with a 4 or 5-year-old iPad, 4-year-old iPad Pro, it's probably not actually, but it's hopefully not too far away. Okay, we've switched to this lighting. Now let's try just this. Is that it? I want to say there used to be a Fire OS build target, but maybe that's just not true. The other thing, okay, so anyway, well, back to my very poorly phrased, I'm having trouble speaking today, explanation of why I'm interested in this device versus, say, a Raspberry Pi. So just, it's $75, we're already far and ahead of where we'd be with Raspberry Pi. Like a Raspberry Pi is like, okay, you buy $35 for the lowest end Pi 4, you buy a display, this display was like 70 bucks and it was terrible, and already I'm at like $100. That doesn't include the fact that I need a power plug for the Raspberry Pi. I need an adapter because it's HDMI micro out. And so, yeah, easily over $100. And then it's gonna run terrible Linux. And you can't build from Unity to a Pi running Linux, by the way, because you can't do ARM Linux builds. And the onboard GPU is terrible. I mean, it's not like a discrete GPU. The GPU capabilities of its little SoC are not good. Binary, how's it going? But right? Like, isn't this actually the way to go? Not for everything. So when I do the big frame project, I will do something different, probably. I'm thinking I might just buy a bunch of 20-inch monitors from China. But like, I don't know. It really struck me that I paid like $70 for this horrible display. To make kind of a Raspberry Pi frame thing. And why would I do that? So the one thing that I just don't actually have a lot of experience with, but I'm sure there's a way to do it, is I/O on an Android device. So it's got a billion sensors already integrated, obviously. So you already have a camera and accelerometer and all that stuff, as long as you can get to it. But if I want to, say, plug a Teensy in and talk to the Teensy, I looked into that a little bit before. There's the very silly, easy way, which is have your Teensy emulate a keyboard or a mouse or a MIDI keyboard or a joystick and just send data that way. But if I wanted it to just work in Unity, I feel like, and I wanted to send something more complex than I could just send with the keyboard, I would want to be able to speak serial. And I feel like there was a problem there, like the .NET. I don't know why we're going through this incredible compile just for the stupid test scene. I should not have used their test scene. I did see one of those. Seed Studios had some crazy thing with a Pi 4 compute module in it. But again, it was way more expensive than this. It was kind of cool, but it was much more expensive than this and less powerful. I don't even kind of remember what it was called. Yeah, I know. So it's, I mean, like part of me is like, oh yeah, make your own cyber deck, but why would you when you could just buy a tablet? Am I gonna be able to find this thing? Is it this thing? This compute? No. Oh, that's kind of cool though. Is that a router they use a compute module? I like the idea of this. They're selling things that use you drop in the Pi compute module. So there's this thing. So this is $530. It is e-paper. I don't know if this is one that you just snap in a compute module though, or if it's a standalone HDMI interface. Why is my internet connection so slow? Oh, Panic Software did a cyber deck? Interesting. Do you have a link for that? I'd be curious about that. Okay, this is absurd. Is this just a display? It's cool, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for... I don't actually see it anywhere. I don't remember what the thing is called. It's like a, I mean, it's basically just a display and a touchscreen and whatever with some I/O, and it's and you drop in a compute module for its brain. Did I make it up? I don't think I made it up. I think it's real. Anyway, clockworkpi.com. Sometimes I heard a noise. I don't know if it was my neighbors knocking because I'm speaking loudly. I also don't know why I can't drag this link into this web browser. Cool. Was I being too loud, or is it the neighbors who are being loud? Why can't I seriously can't just drop a link on this web browser without the web browser freezing? Cool. Awesome. Is this crashing the browser that okay, great, whatever. Did this build to the device? I don't actually even know how to turn this device on. So we did say USB debugging. So I don't know how to do that thing. Okay, I have seemingly totally frozen Edge by trying to drag a link. So I guess I'm still streaming. So we'll close this terrible web browser. That's awesome. Why are computers so
Dude, look at this MP5. You just need.
And why does Twitch autoplay video when you go to the homepage? I mean, I know, but still, why?
See, I was hitting him. I wasn't even aiming that side.
What a terrible crime. Okay, that's all. I don't know why it takes like 14 clicks now to get back to the stupid music player. They are trying to get people to pay for it, and their strategy seems to be to try to make the project or the product worse and worse. Which I mean, I have to say that did kind of work for Google. I did pay for YouTube Premium just because they made it so intolerable. Okay, this thing? Wait, this is the panic people? Or is this just a cool deck? Cool deck. Well, I mean, obviously the thermal printer is key. Oh, I see. So they just have a thing that is also yellow that kind of looks... Well, this is full color. This is better. The one from Panic is only black and white. Check out the homepage. That is pretty cool. What happens if I turn this knob? Does it scroll the screen? It's very pretty. Okay, this is stupid. That definitely built. It seems like it didn't build to the device though, or didn't run on the device, or somehow I lost. I don't want to build again. Whatever, let's build again. If it takes a long time, I will be outraged. So the thing I don't actually know how to do here is, I mean, we can certainly sideload whatever we want, but is there a way to just see all installed apps? One app. Like, you know, normally Android just has a folder of all. So we built, but it seems like we did not install. Did I not build it? Try one more time. I just don't know how to find the I really can't speak today. Something's wrong with my whole entire brain. The thing that Android has that's just like, hey everybody, this is where all your apps are. For some reason, changing the exposure is not doing anything on this other camera. Wait, okay, it worked. We did it. We have no ability to control anything, but we did run our Unity app on this machine. So that's great. It's weird that, okay, I can control brightness, but exposure does nothing? Or is that just... I'm confused. Anyway, okay, we were able to run a thing, so that's encouraging. So let's oh, I should have just done that. So we want VFX graph that was relatively painless, I must say. So this other thing we want to, gosh, what's this thing called? Like Android lockdown, something, Android lockdown kiosk, single app. Fully single app kiosk. DuckDuckGo fails us yet again. Really impressive, Google. How many ads before I actually get to the thing that I want? This thing, okay. So here's the, I just don't know how you see installed apps. I mean, maybe it's there now. Maybe it just shows up on the homepage. Maybe Amazon doesn't. I also don't know how to get home. I push that button. Okay, it just shows up here. So there's not some separate place, I guess. So we want, I think we want this thing. Fully single app kiosk, get the APK. And then we will need to find some Adb install somewhere on this computer. How are we going to find it? That's peculiar. One of my drives not showing it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Henry, how was your Thanksgiving? Did Bash have a good time? So somewhere, like in the Unity install, is like editor, data, playback engines, Android player, SDK, platform tools, ADB. Easy. See, anybody could find that. Okay, so now we want to Adb install this totally, definitely trustworthy it's interesting. This one is a FireOS specific, but this one is not. It also seems like an older version, but whatever, we'll try it. Yeah, this is obviously totally trustworthy, and we should definitely just install it. No questions asked. Meanwhile, let's go over here. Oh yeah, it's bash into mashed potatoes. Kind of makes sense. Bash potatoes. We want to create a visual effect. I thought this played by default and just. My Thanksgiving, I stayed home alone here in beautiful Portland, Oregon, and had takeout Chinese food. And then yesterday, a friend of mine got back into town. Bowie's mom, Bash's long-lost cousin Bowie, and we had Fakesgiving last night with a weird field roast celebration roast. Like I have like a fake. I thought there was a whole graph system. Okay. We just want to pick a already sort of complex thing to start with. This will work. Yeah, so yesterday I had, it varies from year to year. This year was field roast celebration roast, and it's sort of this strange large bean-shaped thing with stuffing inside of it. But I had the big one. I mean, basically this. It was okay. It was pretty good. Not the best, but it was okay. Okay, we have particles. I actually don't want to do this though, because this has two particle systems, and I think, which is fine, but I want to have a better estimate of how many particles we can drive on the tablet. And so it would actually be easier, you know, to have something like this where we knew exactly how many particles there were. So this is 65,535 is the max. And let's just spawn the max. So we just know we are always maxed out basically. And let's do this. So that's a respectable number of particles. Oh, I'm so fuzzy today. It's sometimes hard to communicate words. I think it's because I've been playing, I think I've ruined my brain with video games because I've been playing so much Satisfactory. Like an embarrassing amount. I would be embarrassed to say the number of hours of Satisfactory I have played in the last week. Which I should have just done it on stream, but then maybe, I don't know if that'd make it more embarrassing or less embarrassing. It was a astonishing number of hours. So actually, that's funny. These are cute little beans that do stretch in the direction they're going. Huh. I tell David about that. Because it's scaling them, yeah, orient along velocity, and then you scale them by the speed. Interesting. It's good to know. Okay, so we got all these. That seems like a lot of particles. That should be about 65,000 particles. And let's try a build of this. Not crazy about how this device goes to sleep every 1 second, but maybe it's because it's not happy with the power. Or maybe if I just stay inside the Unity app, it'll be okay. I should have made that. Oh, now it's an Amazon tablet. That's weird. I didn't know that a minute ago. Oh, okay. We were gonna install that very not at all suspicious thing. Totally reputable, totally okay, fully single. It just, the icon just exudes quality. Fully select on your device to the single app. So let me select the single app. This app is not designed for Fire OS, for the Fire OS edition, but there was no Fire OS edition. Swipe from left for the fully plus license. Get a plus license. How much does a fully plus license cost? €7 one-time payment. That's a bargain. Sure. Now I can't get out of the license thing. We trapped. This app is can I not choose? Great. I don't know how to exit things. Okay, here it is. So that's a concern then, actually, because I want... I didn't see a Fire version of this single app. There's the browser version for Fire OS. Does that mean it's not going to work? Or will it maybe still work? Okay, I'm not worried about it this second. Did that build not work? I think it did, and I didn't. I don't like having to swipe up to get home every time. It's really bugging me. Okay, so let's make this a development build. Oops. And let's connect the profiler just so we can check out our FPS. What's happening? Okay, we're building. We'll connect. We'll see what the frame rate is. This is 65,000, 65,535, 65,536, whatever the number is. 16, the 16-bit number, right? There's a way to hijack the launcher. I mean, I think there's stuff we can do from Adb to kind of get this to do whatever we want. I don't want to like totally break it where you just can't get out of the app. But I don't know. Maybe just when you restart it, you have to run it again. So that's awesome. It's the wrong scene, and that would be my fault. Can't really blame anyone there. But myself. Try again. Yes, well, so that's where I found this kiosk dude. Wow, that's not bad. I really wish I knew why I can't control the exposure of this camera. Why? Why can't I control the exposure of this camera? Can I just turn down the gain? It's like... Doesn't help that there's multiple cameras called... Okay, we're doing very well here. This camera is just not happy with me for reasons I don't understand. Is it like mad about the Android device being plugged in also? That'd be sort of weird. Guess I wouldn't be too surprised because, hey, it's Windows. It didn't make the doop-doop sound, which is never a good sign. Let's plug it in another hole. In another computer hole. Those computer holes are all used. I'm a little short on computer holes. Let's see. I don't even know what this is. What is this? Was that important? Oh, was that my mouse wireless adapter? Yeah, this camera did not doop-de-doop. Does that mean this camera just died? That would suck. Yeah, well, actually, that's a good point. We should try WebGL test 2 while we're at it and just see. Although this has, right now, maybe we'd have to install proper Chrome because this has Amazon Silk browser. Which I have no idea what its capabilities are. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't... Only because the 4-year-old iPad did reasonably well, tens of thousands of particles. Now, I will say I want to get to 100,000. I want to try to push it more than this, but I had reasonably high hopes. There's something about it that doesn't quite look right, which... Okay, are we here now? Are we back? It's really strange that we didn't get a doop-de-doop. There's something about it that's different. It may be the high DPI of the screen. Just kind of results in a little bit different effect, the way the additiveness works, maybe. Well, in this, actually, you know what? That's an interesting point you just made, because Unity is probably running this at full resolution. And this is a... not 1080 screen, it's 1920 by 1200. So it's not super high density like the like my iPad is, but it is probably running that at full res. Where would that be? In here? Unless I'm accidentally... Well, no, these are all render scale high. So that... Okay, you make a good point though. So let's go check quality settings. Why can't I find anything? This really is like a bad dream where computers just don't work. Okay. I shouldn't have used their little preset package. It's just kind of annoying. Okay, we have the high quality package for graphics, or high quality dude here. And under quality, it's the high quality. Android is set to medium. Let's go ahead and set it to high. That stuff really isn't relevant for us because most of the stuff that we care about is here anyway. So that's even with 2x anti-aliasing, 1x render scale. It still doesn't quite look the same. It actually looks sharper on this device. I mean, it is, this has a higher, oh, why would that have gone to sleep while the app was running? That's not good. So, and our numbers seemed pretty crazy, like around 250 frames per second, which is pointless. So we should probably turn on VSync, but cool. But you know what? In fact, I'm not going to turn on VSync to start with. I'm only getting... Huh. I'm not going to turn on VSync because I want to see like the uncapped frame rate first. And then we could later cap it to something else. So let's now just go straight up. Let's go to 1 million. Just to see what happens. It's not going to look good. I mean, it looks kind of cool. So let's scale down an X a little more. Okay, this is 1 million particles. and I get 200 frames per second. Well, wait, that's an order of magnitude. I have 65, 535, not 65, 5, 356. I really don't like that this is going to sleep, though. Why would that be true? There's probably a setting for that that's like keep it awake when there's no input. I don't really know. Most of the Android work I do in Unity, in fact, almost all of the Android work I do in Unity is VR. So you don't have to worry about the thing going to sleep. So, but there may just be some setting. Resolution scaling mode disabled. Fixed DPI. Interesting. So, Unity don't sleep on Android. So there's a screen.sleep timeout. That's really old though. So sleep timeout, never sleep. If I don't want it to dim. Okay, but presumably I can do this. Sleep. 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 Okay. I'll try this million particles. Binary, I bought a Synology NAS. I couldn't resist. I got too good of a deal on it. And shuckable hard drives were also cheap yesterday. Like I just couldn't. Taking my accountant's important advice and spending way too much money at the end of the year. It's pretty freaking cool. I mean, they're okay little PCs, and you can run Docker images. You can kind of do whatever you want on them. So some of the stuff that I'm currently running on that little HP up there, I could run on the Synology NAS, in theory. Yeah, their apps did not look great. I just want to do it for simple things like Cloudflare's Dyn DNS service and things like that. Okay. We are not doing well. We are not doing well with a million particles. I'd say we're, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 frames per second. So good to know. I mean, I didn't really think this thing would run a million. I just wanted to start high, you know? Let's just go down an order of magnitude. So I'll try 100,000, which I would kind of expect to be fine because 65, 535 was fine. I'm a little bummed out about that kiosk mode thing though. Okay, so yeah, sorry, back to what you're saying. The home automation people seem to use this app in a web browser, and there is a web browser version of it for Fire OS. So this company has multiple products basically, and interesting. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I would say we're getting a pretty decently in the 250 frames per second range. That makes no sense. That we can get 200. Something doesn't quite look right about it. I can't exactly put my finger on what it is. It's, you know, it's weirdly sharper, and maybe that is just a resolution thing. But it's sharper in a way that almost looks bad. It looks more cartoony on the device, but I think that's just because the display is actually sharper. But that doesn't make any sense because this is scaled down to approximately the physical dimensions of this. So, well, that's still fewer pixels, so it does make sense. I don't make any sense, is what the case is here. Yeah, so there are, I did look into that a little bit. There are tons of ways that people do that. It seems like the ways to do that with Fire OS are a little more limited. Okay, well, this is cool. The thing that I want to know then is, do I actually have handy the thing that we want? I think I do. Let's try this. Oh, I didn't know it. Open? No.
I just want to go back.
Mm-hmm. Amazon's Fire OS is a very special Android derivative. We absolutely can't recommend using Fire OS devices in a production environment, as Amazon seems to be hunting apps overriding the standard launcher. A special, yeah, browser. So, I mean, it makes sense. Seems like Amazon's kind of actively hostile towards people doing this stuff with their devices, which, like, of course they would be. but maybe I don't care.
I just want to go back.
Oh, interesting. I mean, people definitely use these. It's true. It's true. Show those ads at the supermarket. Why is this so slow? Okay, we're slowly importing this project. I mean, yeah, the real answer is if you really wanted to do this in real life, you would pay more money, right? You would not. You pay a couple $100, I guess, and use a. I mean, what is it? What tablet is not terrible? A Galaxy Tab? Are those the only non-bad Android tablet? Google doesn't even make an Android tablet anymore, right? They don't make Nexuses anymore, so it's just. Or you get those terrible, whatever they're called, Dragon. I mean, maybe they're fine. The ones on Amazon that are about $100. The sleep timeout thing seems to be working, which is good. Okay. That was a lot of work, but hopefully this is, or it wasn't a lot of work. It took a lot of time, but hopefully this thing still works. I did add touch control to this, I'm almost sure. I don't know if I saved that work. Like I thought I had some touchy drag control in this, but yeah, I don't see it in here. Which is too bad. You would have thought I would have saved that. This is pretty. Good job, whoever made this. Me. Good job, me. I don't actually know. I don't know if you can like totally root this and install straight up stock Android, but you know, I don't know. If I was, this was just kind of a weird test to see if I could do it. I think if I was actually going to be doing this for real projects, I would just pay the extra money for a decent tablet, I think. So how many particles do I have here? I have 4 million particles. I'm going to just say that 4 million particles with post-processing probably not going to work on this device. Does that mean I'm not going to try? I'm definitely going to try. Oh no, we have to switch all these materials and stuff. So we'll try 4 million with post-processing and it will not work for sure. For sure. The thing I think I would actually sort of like. Let me think about what I'm about to say for a second. Like, what's that thing called? Action tiles? It seems kind of cool. So this is what people seem to like to use for simple home automation setups, where you just like or you just bolt a tablet to your wall and run this app called Action Tiles, and they just do stuff. very much that, whatever, Metro? What was the Windows design language that just had a bunch of colorful tiles? Seems kind of cool. Seems very cheap. I think you can use it for anything you want, I think. Like, I don't think it's limited to just their ecosystem, to the SmartThings ecosystem, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Or maybe you do have to use SmartThings, and SmartThings just knows how to talk to a bunch of stuff. No, I don't see a TP link in here. Uh-oh. There was an insane Amazon deal where if you used Alexa, you could order a smart plug for 99 cents, I think, and a RGB bulb for $4. The TP-Link Casa, which is what all my other stuff is, and so I did it. I think we had problems with this one. Like, the reason it pops is because we had problems like easily morphing between them, or like lerping between the different shapes. Kind of know how to do it. It just, I don't know, it seems like pain. I mean, it would be prohibitively costly to calculate, I think, because you'd have to calculate both your current state and the state that you wanted to go to and lerp, I think. I mean, that would be kind of the most straightforward way to do it. What? What did you say to me? Oh, this might still be set up for VR. Well, we don't want that. Okay, 4 million particles. That's true. You could, that's not a bad point. Is like you would always lerp to a sphere and then lerp out. Binary, that's exactly the thing to do. Good thinking. That is definitely the easier way. So yeah, so I don't know. I was kind of thinking it'd be sort of nice to have a just generic kind of touch panel-y thing that would just call webhooks or something. I'm sure there's other stuff to do that way. What's that thing that people use? The insane Lorien board? Lorien tile? You know, right? What's the thing called? This is not it. What is it called? I don't remember how to spell it. You know, it's a Lorien board. This thing? It's really like a Stream Deck alternative, but I think you can sort of do anything with it. I don't know exactly what I want to do. I just want more ways to turn out the lights, that's all. Oh no. Shader compilation. So one thing that was cool in that single browser thing is I think it had an option to maybe you have to pay for it, but it's cool, where it will use the camera for motion detection to turn the display on or off. But I don't know. I don't really know if that works. Does that only work with the browser, or does that work with the app too? That's something that's kind of annoying about this project, whatever it's called, is it's all of the documentation is very entangled. Okay. Yeah, no, it's just not like they put all the documentation for 5 different apps in one page. So it's really not. Okay, these are the features of the browser, but where are the features of the not the browser? You don't want to be your own sim? I think that sounds pretty good. Just click parts of your house. I think we just need like really cheap piezo knock sensors, and then you just, anytime you want something to change, you just walk up and hit it a little bit. Like if you want the light to turn out, just knock on the wall near the light. You could even have like different secret knocks to do different things. Yeah, I hate this documentation. It is so terrible. Like, why would you put all of this in a single page? I don't know which app is which. Which kiosk app to use for what? Great question. But it really seems like I can't use the thing. Really, the thing I want to use is not going to work. Well, we got some of those Oak Ds. I ordered an Oak D for April, but we got a couple of the... Alright, I ordered an Oak D Lite for whenever it ships. Well, we did get a couple of Oak Ds at SETI, so I do need to do some OpenCV built into a device stuff. Okay. We are getting about... two frames a second? There's something so different about the ways it draws the particles. I don't know. Is it a DPI thing? Like there's just something like completely different happening on device. And now suddenly the device is no longer... That's weird. Why is my computer running slowly? It's like it is. It's like a nice slideshow. Okay. Well, you know, 4 million particles is a lot. See, 16 times 16 times 16. That's not enough. 4096 times 4096. I mean, it's not like it has to be a power of 2. Okay, so that's 16 million, so that's definitely too much. 2048 times 2048 is 4 million. Okay, 1024 times 1024. $512 times 512. 200,000, I might believe. Why did this stop working? Look at how broken this is. Oh, was there some trick to this? Right, I forgot. Shoot. There is some very specific... Oh boy. There's some very specific... math at work here. I think it's a function of the resolution. Okay. So it's the square root. Does that seem right? I really can't remember like what the number. So previously this was set to 1024 and it was 4 million. How does that math work? It was set to 4 million. That doesn't seem right. Like when it starts to double, I just can't quite remember what this, well, I can't remember. Yeah, there was, I knew how this worked when I wrote it, and I just can't remember. It's like how many particles end up distributed on the sphere. Kind of thought it was just... like there's a certain point where it's just repeating. I just can't remember what that point is. I mean, 512. Let's go with 512 for the moment. 512 still looks pretty nice. Oh, we didn't do the never sleep in this one. I should have done it. I should have done it. This just looks so different. I don't know. It doesn't even look like the same program. Maybe it's not, actually. Now that I say it, maybe this is a different program. Because I don't know what scene. Super shapes. Is that the scene I'm in? Yeah, this is the wrong... Okay, that's the wrong scene. It's the wrong scene. Cancel. Okay, that would explain a few things. We built the wrong scene, so that's why it doesn't even look like the same scene. So what do we do with the dumb kiosk stuff? I mean, one thing is we just don't care. If it's just going to be at somebody's house, they just have to run the app when they turn it off and turn it back on. The like go to sleep based on camera stuff is interesting. I don't know if you could, if Unity has the ability to do that. Like if Unity can have control over sleeping and waking the screen. That doesn't really seem like a thing. I mean, does that mean I could just put it to sleep? I guess I could cut the brightness. Like, that'd be kind of an interesting thing to do. Like, turn the brightness to 0 when nobody was there. Okay, so this is... not great. I'm confused though, because it says it's running. It says it's running at like 100 frames per second, but it certainly doesn't look like it is running 100 frames per second. So what is the... what's the lie? It's not very dense. There's just something about it that looks so different. I wonder if it is a pixel density thing, or I don't know. It's really something obvious. I really feel like my brain is not working very well today. Also, really don't understand why this is not working in editor at the moment. Editor, buttery smooth. What's the problem, everybody? Who's talking to me and why? Whoa. Niantic got a lot of money. I guess the 300 million isn't in the scale of that world, maybe it's not the... Okay, so why? What's our problem? Why is anything? So we want the Unity never sleep. And maybe we turn down the brightness. I mean, I don't know. Then we have to do our motion detection. Be nice if the thing just worked. What? I don't understand why my computer's performing so amazingly badly. Computers are a bad idea. Computers just aren't very good. Okay. Let's do this thing. That's what I get for, I should have just kept playing Satisfactory. I'm gonna stream for a little longer, and then I'm gonna go play Satisfactory some more. I know, I really was thinking I just need to like find some ETFs. It's terrible, but I just need to find some ETFs. One for psychedelic therapy, and another about like game engine kinds of stuff. There's probably a metaverse ETF at this point, but there's going to be this overlap of the psychedelic research and the metaverse, where you take just enough ketamine to believe you're in the metaverse, and that's it. Then humans are over. Like that's gonna be the thing, right? That's when we fully enter the matrix. You put on your Oculus Quest V10, which just has a little line that hooks into your neck to just inject a little bit of ketamine, and you just never come back. You just never come back to Earth. And it's great. That sounds way better than being lonely in a retirement home. Just be on drugs all the time. What is it about this that looks so different? So I will say, I can't exactly remember, but I'm pretty sure I had better performance than this on the iPad. And I mean, that's not surprising. It's not terribly surprising, except that it was a 4-year-old iPad. So I guess at the time, 3-year-old iPad. Yeah, I think that's actually, I mean, there's a number of, I was just looking at a psilocybin research ETF, and I've definitely done a number of projects this year that are tied into VR assisted, psychedelic assisted therapies, and it just feels there's just so much overlap. I don't know what to think. This says that the frame rate is good. The frame rate does not look good to me. Is it just me? Well, you don't want too much ketamine. You don't want so much ketamine that you're in the K-hole. You just want a dash. Just want a dash of ketamine. So, is it a clock thing? Like, is it actually running at the right frame rate, but the clock is wrong? Like, there's something about this that is also just so much nicer and smoother and blurrier. That has to be a resolution thing. In fact, okay, so should I run this at... Okay, that does make more sense. That looks a bit more like what I'm seeing. Still not exactly, though. No, I don't get it. Or forget the ketamine, just go straight to the psilocybin. Or do both. A little touch of each. What am I doing wrong? Why? This is the connected player. And according to it, the frame rate is good. Right? The other. Yeah, this is the others. Oh wait, we don't have everything turned on. Oh. Okay. My bad. I did a bad job using the software. Okay. Everything has been a lie. So that makes much more sense. Wow, how did I not notice that? This is our actual situation. This makes much more sense. It also makes, we weren't seeing the speed before because rendering was not included or whatever. Oh wait, that's all VSync. So actually I'm still confused because why does VSync? Okay, so let's try a couple things. There just maybe something weird going on. So we're set to ultra. So Android's only set to medium. That shouldn't really matter, but because all these are really like lighting related, so okay, so this is weird. We're missing this pipeline asset, so that's suspicious. We are HDR, and we are at 8x anti-aliasing, and low dynamic range is probably fine there. I forgot where VSync. Is VSync not here? I just completely overlook VSync. VSync. So when we're here, for now, let's just turn this off. Okay, let's try this. So there were a number of weird settings. I mean, well, I will say the other one at least looked smooth. It kind of looked smooth. Is that the secret? You just like live in a float tank for a while? Just never come out. Get in your float tank. Infuse the water with a little DMT. You don't even need a headset anymore. Okay. This is more like it. Still not great. I'm really not happy with the way this chart scales. It's like kind of useless. I mean, I guess that they just like, if you're at 15 frames per second, just don't even bother. So unsurprisingly, that is almost all render time. Okay, I do want to, maybe the thing that's thrown me off, it just looks so different. Though still, how many particles did we end up with here? Still a lot, right? 400,000? No, it's only 200,000. So what's so heavy? Is it the post-processing? So let's try two things. One of them is to only do landscape. The other of them... allows your screen resolution to be lower than the native resolution of your device to optimize performance and battery life. So that's fine. Let's just try that. Like, basically, we'll just render lower. Because it's, I mean, it's not super high density, but we don't need to be this high density. 30 DPI is not very much, though. Stream the video. There is some new, I mean, NDI, it's pretty good. There's some new NDI stuff, but I don't want there to be a computer. Sorry, new NDI stuff specifically with Raspberry Pis, where you can just do the work somewhere else and then just stream the video to the Pi. Okay, so you can see my 30 DPI. Oh, can I get this where you can actually see it? So performance is great. I'm getting 100 frames per second. It's just 30 DPI is obviously too low. Oh, just to compare. Let's see. Can I focus? Can I
just want to go back.
lower the exposure just a little? There we go. Okay. This performance is great. Well, a little chunky. Little on the chunky side. I mean, now you're making me want to... Obviously, the thing I need is just a vector display. So, like, actually... You know what? Now that you say that, you probably could do that. Like, this formula you could probably send to an oscilloscope. I don't have much experience with that, but that seems like a thing that we could figure out. We've got an analog oscilloscope with a vector display. Okay, so I'm pretty into these results. We just want to be at least 72 DPI, right? You don't really need any anti-aliasing, actually. I don't think. Probably ditch the anti-aliasing. If it's even being used. Like, it's all just drawn on quads anyway. Okay. 72 is not so hot. I must admit. But I think we can go higher. I thought 72 was going to be better. About 100 DPI.
I just want to go back.
And we should also just double check the... I mean, the banding is unfortunate. It would be nice to do HDR, but that would be pretty substantial cost, I believe. So we've got depth of... Oh. Oh. I forgot. I thought the softness... Oh, okay. Well... I forgot we put depth of field on. That was a really silly thing to do. Why would I do that? I really should just be using a blurrier particle. And then not doing all of the extra computation on depth of field. So I'm going to turn depth of field off for now. Vignette is probably not very expensive. I kind of like the chromatic aberration. It's subtle. It's okay. We definitely want bloom. Our bloom... Not super high quality. Okay, what did we just say? 100 DPI? What if that 72 would have been okay? We also just ignore that and just do a half-size buffer. Like, we know what the render buffer is, and we can just do. Getting intense, Mourier. Words I can never say properly. So actually dumping the depth of field, I think that was costing us a lot. The bad news is I think the depth of field is part of what helps it look really good. But I think there's ways to mitigate that. So let's do a couple things. Let's go back here. Let's not do this. Let's just let this do its thing. Run natively. Like, yeah. I think we can get the depth of field effect just with a bigger particle. I hope. It looks good, blurry. Like, it'd be nice if there was some other faster blur. Maybe there is. How did we lose the rotation? Didn't this just have vertical rotation as it went? I'm still just flabbergasted, like why it looks so different. Okay, so we are now at around 30 FPS, which is not great, but tolerable. It's tolerable. It just looks so incredibly different. I really wonder if it is just the screen density. So let's try. The background is slightly gray, I think, not truly black, and I think that the bloom is adding a lot. I mean, just looking at it for me, I mean, I'm sure it's very different in the stream. Just looking at it here in person, it's not too different. It's a little more blown out on the device, I would say. So what's the trick here? Is it the trick to... So that doubles things up. So that's not what we want. We want the minimum number. So part of the trick, I think, is to have a very blurry sprite. I think the other thing we want is to not be as small with our sprites if we're going to have less density. Really, size should be a function of density, probably. So we're just using the default. Let's go back up here. Yeah, it is a... Display calibration is a weird thing, and human eyeballs are a weird thing. But the difference is not just... the difference I'm seeing in person is like not a quality of image, it's that the image truly looks different. Like the representation of the particles looks very different to me. And so I think what I'm going to try is a half size buffer. And then we probably also want blurrier particles, but let's just try a half size buffer and see how we do that. It's essentially going to be, you know, whatever, 540p. I guess we could truly figure out how to make it. Probably don't want it to be half size. We want it to be the difference between 1080p and 720p, not actually half. Can you run the Android build on Windows? I probably could with Blue. What's that Android emulator? It seems so shady. I'd be a little nervous to install it. Blue something. There's some Android emulator. I don't know if you get reasonable GPU performance. Okay, so that looks bad. So maybe instead of half scale, maybe it's more like 0.75. The performance seems not bad, which is good news. Oh, excuse me. I don't know that I ever used that thing. That is such a cool thing about M1 Max, that you can just straight up run iOS builds just natively. Pretty freaking cool. There's secret things on the screen. Why do you do this, Photoshop? I thought we specifically set Photoshop to not do this. That is so infuriating. Didn't we very explicitly at one point, like 2 years ago, go into the preferences in Photoshop and say, don't show secret work every time you open the application? Auto show the home screen. No, don't show the home screen. So stupid. Okay, new file. I don't know. Pretend you didn't see that. At least it wasn't too incriminating, but. What is this? Hello? What is the shortcut for fill with the foreground color? Have I just forgotten fully how to use my computer? Did Photoshop decide to change the shortcuts after 30 years? Alt backspace, Control backspace. Go with the foreground or background color. Alt backspace or Control backspace. Alt. It was Control Delete, but I had to select over here. Who knows? Okay. I was almost ready to buy a new Windows computer. Get like a nice new machine with a 3080 or 3090 in it. But I hate Windows so much that I just don't know. I just don't know. What do we want? We want a very radial gradient. Not going to be soft enough? Maybe. Why? All operating systems are so bad. iOS is okay. It's okay. I've used Windows so much in the last year just because I've been sitting almost 2 years, I guess, just because I'm always at home. That's enough to mess up all my Mac muscle memory. What was that particle system? The crazy religious zealot guy? Maybe we should use that one. Maybe that's the one true good operating system. Linux is pretty good as long as there's no GUI. If you're just on the command line, Linux is pretty good. Yeah, Temple OS. Let's switch to Temple OS. I like Mac OS. Mac OS is okay. I'm pretty okay with Mac OS. I just wish it was possible to have a GPU. Although the M1 Pros or M1 Maxes seem pretty fancy. Okay, so what is with all the emails? Why? Oh, it's the house I was looking at on Zillow. Is pending sale. So sad. Why? It's just spam. Just spam. Always spam. I want to run single apps on bare hardware, like in the old days. Can't we do that? Okay, so we switched. We want to switch from default particle to this particle. Is my particle any different than the default particle? Maybe it's not any different. Except that it's huge. I thought it was fuzzier, but I need a non-linear gradient. Although that's not bad. It's not terrible. It's kind of cool. It's quite different. But that's not a function of the size, right? That's just that my gradation is different. So it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Docker workspaces, huh? What is it? Wait, GitHub. I mean, they're almost a requirement for some ML stuff, right? Because every ML setup is so completely different with totally different development stacks and different very specific versions of a ton of different libraries that it's almost impossible to just say, oh yeah, I want to check out this repo and use this and have a consistent development environment. So are you telling me that GitHub has does GitHub have their own workspaces? Oh, whoa, weird. Is it this thing or is this a different thing? I haven't heard of this. Are you doing it in a browser? That's cool. So, I mean, you know, if this I have really mixed feelings about this because on the one hand, it seems like a necessity. It seems like a really smart idea because like otherwise how can you deal with like again, ML is such a disaster in terms of like, oh, I want to run this model. What do I need? Oh, I need like a completely bespoke development environment for this just to run this one model, and that sucks. So the idea of just having that environment like right there for you is kind of cool. The notion that that is where we are with programming is like, I don't know, man. Oh, of course. Of course. But like, I mean, how is it this bad? Okay, so they definitely do the hosted thing, but can I download this and do my own? Like if I do it locally, do I not have to pay? Or what's the... What? Okay, I guess I'm not a target user. I just want the image. I guess. Like, I want the, like, do they have the images? Does it say what environments they offer? Like, what do they... I want a list of all of them. Oh my God, I don't want AWS for anything. I just want to run it locally on my own computer. I just want to be able to get a Docker image that is curated by somebody very carefully that has the exact development environment for X, Y, or Z, so I don't have to deal with it, especially on Windows, because development on Windows is so bad to begin with. It is such a huge pain to even just get like a, I mean, it's not a huge pain, but it's a pain, more of a pain than it should be, just to get like a C++ development environment up and running. It's absurd how annoying it is on Windows. And then once you get into all the ML stuff, if I could just say like, okay, I just am going to use Visual Studio Code like I always do, but there's some Docker container that has all the stupid, I mean, whatever. I guess those would be too bespoke anyway. There's probably... I just don't know. It's like, it's so gross. It's kind of all gross. The whole thing is gross, and it's getting worse. Like, it's not making things better. It's not making any of the problems better. It's just like badness built on badness. And I think one of the culprits is this guy right here. I think Python is a major culprit here. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if I really want, I don't know if I want that to be the truth, you know? I mean, and even then, I don't actually believe it would work right. Like, I don't, well, what is this? Oh, is that just a... VLS view language server. Yeah, so the notion of language servers like that, man, I don't know. It feels like all of this, none of this is going to make software better. Like software is all terrible and it's getting worse, and none of this is going to make it better. I don't know. I really don't know. Glad I'm not a real programmer. Seems bad. Okay, so we're at 30 FPS with a terrible looking blob now. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping I could do a little better with, I mean, we could cut our particle count in half again. So what were we? That was 512 squared? I don't remember how to actually calculate it, but let's just do 256 squared. Why is this so slow? Why are computers so bad? Oh, that's not good. Is that all? Let's just try 100,000. That might make it hard to figure out the actual number we need here. So let's just guess. It's gonna be like the square root of 100,000. About 316. That's really not very dense. I don't know. It's not dense enough. I think what looks good is the density. I think I've messed it up. I think I made everything worse instead of better. Just like all of programming. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some who, I don't fully believe this, but there's certainly some who would say that just the notion of package management is part of the problem, that we shouldn't even be in that realm. I don't think I fully believe that. Like, there's a degree to which I think package management is a reasonable thing. So, and this is the 1.5. So the 0.75 buffer is not so terrible, and it does give us like a little bit of blur for free, kinda. I think my particle is bad though. I think my particle is not good. This seems so sparse. I guess the thing to do is just puff it up even more. No, that's too much. You know what looks good is 4 million particles. I mean, this is kind of cool. It's just of such a different effect. Like when I was actually doing it, how did I lose the rotation? By the way, it's this, right? Oh, did this just come unhooked or something? Oops, not this. This. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's just very, very different than the... Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, the thing that was... Yeah, it starts to look vectory, or like its lines. The thing I really liked about the 4 million particles, and which was just absurd and not actually the right answer, but the thing I liked about it is it really started to seem like a solid volume. Like the version of this with 4 million particles is so dense, it's like a particulate cloud, basically. It was so dense that it really looks like it is a solid. Which at that point, I mean, to reduce, I'd effectively just be zooming out, right? I'd just be, or I wouldn't be able to push it as hard when doing the harmonic stuff. Did that actually build and run? So the real answer probably is the kind of boring answer, which I don't really want to do. Well, I am... There's a couple of factors. There's the calculation of the positions of 4 million particles, just the compute work of the VFX graph that is hitting me hard, I think. And then there is the drawing of that. So there's kind of like, it's a lot for the GPU to deal with. So the real normal person answer, if I was just a normal person, the normal person answer would be, if you want a thing to look solid, just make it solid. So I could have done, drawing is saved by resolution. Yes, that's true. So that is why we did get a performance boost when we dropped it to, that's weird. Why am I getting no frame data? When we dropped it to 0.75 resolution, which seems adequate, it doesn't look bad. We did get a pretty decent performance boost. Well, there's no volume. There's no particle volume. It's only on the surface. So it's just it's the surface of a sphere, basically. That's then contorted through these. That's weird. The system is running out of memory. I'm going to blame Photoshop, which is open with a single file. Could be Slack. Well, but my surface only exists as a function of the number of points I'm drawing. Like that's what that magic number is. The magic number is a way to translate between, I think it's basically this squared, because I'm drawing 316 rings of 316 particles each, and that is my total number of particles. And so to maintain a sphere, I always have to have this number squared, and making this number sparser just makes it, makes it into the Death Star, which is kind of cool. Like, it's reasonably cool to do that. I'm not, like, if we even just set this to what, like 32, and then our max particles only needs to be 32 squared, we'll probably get very good performance. But the big issue here is, as these contort and gets way stretched out, when we contort, distort, whatever for the right term is, we effectively get super stretched out, so it appears even sparser. So you just lose any sense of what the surface volume is, and it just kind of looks like swarms of particles, which is kind of cool. It's just, it's not, it's not like emulating a surface. But oh, that was weird. Wait, what did I do wrong? Should this not be 512? Did I do something wrong? Looks extra glowy somehow. Oh, it's because I scaled up the particles. Let's see how that looks. So anyway, the thing... Yeah, that's the weird... I mean, the thing that I'm doing here, for better or worse... I mean, all of this is Paul Bjork's work by way of Daniel Schiffman, of just you draw a sphere, and then you, in one example, I ran it through the super formula, and in this I'm running it through some like quasi spherical harmonics formulas. So you're really just seeing a surface. So the real answer, probably, if I want it to look like a surface, is to just build surface geometry. And I could do that. Let me think for a second of what that would mean. It would be... So what that would mean is I would do it in a regular shader. And I would just basically make a sphere of the number of vertices that I wanted. And then I would come up with transformations for those vertices, and I would just mush them around in space. And I think that would work. I think it would be fine, actually. Well, the thing about this surface is I would only have to build it one time. So it'd be a singular mesh of the density of a predetermined density. So that could be an offline process. So it's essentially like I just build a sphere, build a mesh, and that mesh goes to the GPU and it's done. And I don't have to create the mesh ever again. The triangle setup is exactly the same. What changes is basically the displacement of the individual vertices, which is a very easy shader to write. So I don't think that would be that heavy, actually, because it's just, you're essentially just drawing a sphere and you're using a texture to modulate the positions of the vertices. I think that actually would be extremely fast to draw, probably faster to draw than this is. This actually doesn't look too bad. This current version is not too terrible though. I could maybe live with this. I'm not, like, the lines are very apparent. and it's only 30 FPS, but it's actually pretty nice. But yeah, it's at that phase where it like looks more vectory, and the only way you'd have to zoom out essentially to not have that. Yeah, so the sphere thing. Oh, just like fake make a surface. That's almost what I'm doing here. The difference is that my particles are billboarding instead of facing 0. I don't think that would be too different than this. It would be pretty close to what we already have. It would actually be a little worse because it would mean that the ones at the edges would be anisotropic to you, and you'd see them on edge. So it would be kind of like this, but it would be less less apparent at the sides. I see what you're saying, and in principle it would work just to make a sphere, but since we're stretching everything out, even if you're starting, they're basically like this, sort of acting like a sphere. As you stretch out, they're going to get big gaps in them, whereas if we just use triangles, the triangles stay triangular basically. So let me think about this for a second. So as it stands, we'd essentially be making a sphere of 200,000 vertices. We'd have one texture, which is only 512 by 512. So that's all extremely easy. Like that is, the rendering would almost cost nothing, I think. Well, I mean, we still are doing all the post-processing and stuff, but purely the rendering of the sphere would be borderline free. The calculation of the individual positions, right now the reason it's so fast is because we do that on the GPU, but we could still come up with a way to do it on the GPU. I don't exactly know. We couldn't use the VFX graph. We'd have to do it either as well, there's two ways we could do it, actually. And I don't know which one I think is better. I think I do. Either we do it as a job and we like massively parallelize it. Yeah, I know what you mean, but you'd still end up toothy. You'd still end up with holes, whereas with triangles, you wouldn't have holes. So yeah, either to compute the individual positions, we'd either do it as like a multi-threaded Unity job system, or just our own Unity task. Which I don't remember those formulas being super intensive, but yeah, it'd be interesting so like if you were nuts, this is a level of optimization I've never really gone to, but you could probably, this is an AMD processor, right? I'm sorry, it's an ARM processor that's going to support Neon. So how wide is that? What processor is in this? Let's just in theory, I do have to run in a moment to go walk. I have to go walk Bowie. Okay, it's this. This is our processor. So, isn't Neon their SIMD? Just 128. Five wide? I don't know. I maybe don't know enough about this to exactly say, but basically you can do wide calculations on these processors. Seems like a weird number though. 128 bits. Isn't that 5 bytes? Well, I guess if they were like 32-bit ints, then it would really be 4, right? Not 5. Where did I get 5? That's to the 5th. That's what I meant. So it would be like 4 32-bit floats wide. Right? Is that right? Am I thinking of this correctly? I mean, it's definitely a thing I just don't have very much experience with. I would be interested in learning. I think the Unity job system will let you do neon stuff. So, okay, the question is, just to explain, like, SIMD, single instruction multiple data, means instead of just asking your CPU, like, add these 2 numbers, you can give it a list of 4 numbers. Instead of saying this, add this number to this number, you can say add these 4 numbers to these 4 numbers, and it takes the exact same amount of time. So you can basically do 4 times the amount of work. And this is not multi-threading or cores or anything. This is like actually, this is a separate, at the moment that you issue the instruction, you can do wide versions of these operations. So it's, well, that's the question is, I mean, it lets you parallelize these operations, which is cool, but you're still not really touching so how do we know? You're not even close to like the parallelization of exactly of that's what where a GPU shines, right? Is parallel processing of instructions. So you're still not even close to that. But I guess the point I was about to try to make is like, oh, interesting. I wonder if you factor in all of the whatever it ends up being, like the number of, basically the number of threads you could run simultaneously on this device, whatever number of cores that is. Basically, if you parallelized everything you possibly could on the CPU side, right? Multiple threads doing multiple SIMD operations, whatever it takes. Like, I don't exactly know, but you parallelized as much as possible on the CPU side and let the GPU only deal with rendering. Would that be better? I think the answer is probably no, because I think even if you did your absolute best to parallelize the heck out of like do as much as you possibly can on the CPU in parallel, I think you still would not touch you still wouldn't touch what the GPU is capable of, I believe. So in other words, we could try to, we have this thing where every single frame we have whatever 200,000 or 4 million, whatever it is, coordinates to calculate. I think it is probably way faster to do that with the GPU, which is what the VFX graph is doing for us. We would have to write our own compute kernel, which, you know, I want to learn how to do that anyway. Or we would try to just do everything we possibly could on the CPU side. But I don't know this intuitively because I just don't know. It's not obvious. I'm not super well versed in these things. I don't think if you're dealing, even if you went nuts and neoned the heck out of it and multi-threaded the heck out of it, I still don't think you're going to touch the GPU. Actually, and speaking of compatibility, that's ARM only, you know? So like those operations would be a pain to test because they would only run on this device. So I think that's more than anything is just a reason I talked myself out of wanting to do it, because you would have to build and profile the build to on device to even see if you were doing things correctly. I think Unity has started to do some of those things. I don't know that I mean, it's possible that some stuff Unity is doing internally is internally using Cindy. I don't know. Yeah, well, so I mean, I would still say doing it all in a compute shader is still pretty low level, and I think it's going to be better performance anyway. Like, I think it's still gonna, especially for the kinds of math we need to do, are very like GPU-y kinds of math. So I don't know. I'm gonna think about it. I think this actually looks not too terrible at the moment. It's unfortunate because it's a little more blown out than I'd want it to be, but the blowoutness is a function of the density in such a way that if we, you know, we all we can do to affect that at the moment is make the particles smaller. Oh, but the visual density, I should say, not the actual density. So when we do this, it won't be as blown out, but it also will look more toothy. So yeah, I'm kind of curious about the build a sphere version. There'd be that one annoying thing at the very, I don't know. There's some annoying things about building spheres, but I don't think we would just choose not to care about it very much, I think. Like, we would basically build a cylinder, like triangle strips, building a cylinder, and then just shrink them, going up and down. Did I not build the device again? Okay, one more build, and then we'll go. So I will say this device is okay. Like, it's definitely not blowing me away, but I mean, compared to what you could do with, you certainly can do this with a Pi. I really wonder how fast we could get the coordinate calculations. That's true. I've got to go between, yeah, go back to the sphere anyway. So yeah, 30 FPS. Like, this thing is kind of cool. It's just not the same thing. And so here's what I would say, actually. If you go this not dense, I'm sure this doesn't read very well. The lower resolution actually really hurts you because it gets very artifacty, because it looks like it wants to be really precise and vector. It's not. When you have this sort of low density cloud, and the lower resolution just makes it look like a low resolution version of that. Getting a little toasty. I don't know. So the thing that's a bummer with this kind of profiling, maybe I don't know. Like, obviously most of our work is rendering. What isn't really clear is how much of that work is the compute to compute the positions versus what it takes to draw it on the screen. I think the draw it on the screen probably actually isn't that heavy. I don't know. Okay, but I do have to go. So I don't know. We made some progress. We learned some things. This thing's a little toasty. This little device is okay. I think it was certainly instructive. It didn't blow me away with its processing power, but I mean, that was not a reasonable expectation, right? I'm going to unplug this and it's going to stop. And then I'm going to run it again and maybe we'll get slightly better performance because we won't have the profiler connected. I don't know how to kill an application. How do you kill a program on Android? Running in priority mode, what does that mean? Oh, is that still running? Okay. Oops. Hey, this is a Kindle Fire 10. This is clearly 2 better than the 8. I don't know if it has if the GPU is actually markedly different. It might be the exact same processor actually. In which case, the 8 might be better because you're probably pushing fewer pixels. I don't know. This is kind of cool. It's just not the same thing. It's not the real thing that I want. Now, if I can come up with a way to like build really simple UIs for this that then talk to a oh, that's a problem though. So it said the bundled web view version is at the OS level. That's such a weird thing about Android. I guess iOS does it too, where like the browsers, the core like web browser engine is part of the OS, so it can't be updated independently. Because I was just thinking, like, it would be cool if you could do web serial on Android and just talk to your device through a browser. I'm just thinking, like, you know, it's if I just needed a screen to be cooked to a sensor to show cool stuff, this might be a way to do it. Maybe. Okay, I really gotta go. Thanks for hanging out. And I don't know. I don't know what to think about today. Are you happy with this progress? I don't think I am, but what are you gonna do? Kind of just want to rebuild it and try to build a sphere and do the math. I can build a sphere, right? We can figure it out. Okay. Anyway, goodbye. See you next time.